What's it, YouTube? Dave of wargames, bringing you, as requested, an updated 6 Samurai deck. Now, I took this deck to my locals this weekend. The first one I came first in, going X1 or 4-1, so I lost one game to that, and that was straight away to Trickstars. They just opened up the absolute nuts. And then day 2 didn't go as well. I made a couple of changes and adapted the deck, and now I've kind of reverted those and added in more changes. So that one I went 3-1. So it's still the same, but just not as good as it probably could have been. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to take you through the deck. I'll take you through my side deck and I'll explain why I've got the ratios I have and kind of go through what we've got. So starting off with the main deck, no questions asked. You play triple Fuma in this version because this is the True King version. So you want to see Fuma in your opening hand. You see Fuma, Diagram, a combination of Fuma with Diagram or the Wind True King. You've pretty much got a great starting hand or starting board to go with. Free Kazan, if you get Gateway, you're constantly searching Kazan, you're just filling up your board with Earth monsters, which then helps you go into your Link 2 plays, which again helps you extend your board. And then especially because we're playing Ezreal, the Noble Knight monster, Kazan is not a bad option to kind of add to your hand. And you can, as now said with the Ezreal, you can add stuff like your Great Shogun Shien or your Grandmaster of the 6 Sam to your hand if you want. The only issue with searching those out is you then means that you have to rely on your next turn being able to have a board that can special summon those monsters. Otherwise you lock yourself out a little bit and have a dead card in hand unless you can then get more 6 Sam to board. Double Kizaru, you don't want 3 of this. You do not want to see this card in your hand. Yes, you do. You can burn through these quite quickly and easily after going turn 1. But if you've burnt through all 3 of your Fumas and both of your Kizarus, you should technically by that point have like a VFD, a Shien, and have locked your opponent out of their board or their game state, and then moved in for game next turn. Double Hatsume, I think this is probably one of the most underrated 6 Sams in the deck. She is so good. Like, if you think your opponent could nuke your board next turn, you search out Hatsume off of Ezreal, then you normal summon Hatsume, banish 2, bring 1 back, and you've got the ability to then go into either, depending on what you bring back, you can go into a rank 3 in MX Invoker and then extend your place from there. You can special summon Kizaru back, get a search off if you need to. Her plays are really, really good, and she's part of the reason why I play Herald of Perfection in the extra deck, or Herald of Arclight. 2 Kigeki, now this has gone down from 3, I did play it at 3, the reason I've played it at 2 is because it's very, very good to get the combo started, and it can also get your Kizarus out of hand to give you the draw still. It can get your Hatsumes to board to go into your MX Invoker, it can get your Fuma to board, not that you really want to be doing it that way, but the most I was using Kigeki for was destroying it in hand with the Wind True King and then getting double effect to banish the top 4 of my opponent's deck. So Kigeki was one of the casualties in order to kind of minimise the deck usage. And then the 1 Genba. Now, someone said to me about dropping this, and they're completely, it's completely fine to say that. Now, the reason I've got Genba in here is because there are a couple of times when you've got a Kizaru on board, and you've already got your water, like the Water True King and maybe the Wind True King, so you can't search out any other attribute apart from Genba. Also with Genba, if you've done the combo where you've used Hatsume, there's banished 6 Sams, and you haven't used your normal summon, you search Genba, you normal summon your Genba, Genba then brings back one of your banished monsters, and that's how you can get into like Trish, as one route into Trish, so it can be very, very useful and very, very helpful. The only downside to Genba is because he can also be a dead card in hand. Sometimes you do set him for a 2100 defender. On top of that, the combinations that he can kind of make, really because of the extra deck, I'll show you when we get there, there are the opportunities of making like a level 6 synchro or a level 8 synchro, and I'm really, really tight on the extra deck, so I'll show you the extra deck, and I'll probably, if there's any changes that you'd make, then let me know and explain why. 3 Wind True King, no questions asked. Like, you open up this bad girl with Fuma, it's crazy. Especially if you open up with the Wind True King as well. So if you open up with these 3 cards, you use the Wind True King's effect, destroy Fuma, destroy Barastos, sorry. You then get the Wind True King to board, you then get Fuma's Search, you then get the Barastos' special summon, which then lets you special summon the Fire True King, or can special summon another Wind True King. You've got VFD on board already, or Enter Blafnir if you want to do it that way. Fuma on board then gives you the ability to get your Kizaru. Kizaru can then search another monster, and you can kind of extend your place from there. And then for the hand traps, I've only got 2 Ghost Ogres. Now, this is really, really weird because most of my other hand traps are in my side deck. Now, the deck itself is very, very tight, and I still haven't decided of swapping some of them around as of yet. I'm still working on that. The reason I've got Ghost Ogres over Ashes is because if you know what you're coming up against, these 2 spaces is down to you. You can put Ashes in if you want, because Ashes is more generic. It'll hit more rogue decks, it'll hit more rogue cards, and it'll hit just the generic cards a little bit more. But if we feel that the meta is going to be heavy meta foes, Electromite, all over the place, Ghost Ogre and Effect Veiler are better than Ash. And if you look at the most recent tops in America, they've been using Ghost Ogres and Effect Veilers over Ashes for those exact reasons. So that one is down to you on what type of hand traps you would like to play. The best thing after the ban list that 6 Sam's got, or especially the True King version, is the fact that Maxi was banned, because then it means you can kind of go off without worrying too much. And then of course Soul Charge is just as important as well. Now for the spells, we play 6 Samurai United. This is your obviously +2, very, very cool card. Triple Shien Smoke Signal searches out your Fume, your Kageki, and your Hatsume, and even your Gemba, so it can be very, very helpful as well. Triple Diagram. Now, obviously, Diagram kind of helps your plays get forward. Popping your Fumas in hand, can pop in your True Kings and move forward from there. Now, I have cut the Terraformings. Now, the reason I've cut the Terraformings, again, it comes down to personal preference. I've put in 2 Pot of Desires. Now, the reason I've put in 2 Pot of Desires over 2 Terraforming is because my Pot of Desires will never, ever really be dead. My deck's kind of like just over the 40, I think it's like 43 cards. So it's actually more helpful having Desires. Desires will always give you that +2, and that can extend your combo so much further. But you've got to be very, very careful because we do play a nice handful of one-offs. The last thing you need to do with your Desires is doing that. So if you want to go a bit more risky, you go with Desires. If you want to be a bit more safe, you put in your Terraformings to then go into your Diagrams, and then again, that gives you more consistency to move your plays forward. So it's entirely up to you on which route you'd like to go with that. We've then got double Shien's Dojo. You can play this at free. Again, the deck's just really, really tight at this moment in time. And the Shien's Dojo is mainly there to get your Fuma from your deck to the field. Now, we use a Zidil to do that anyway, which again I'll show you when we get to one of the spells, to get your Fuma to deck. And you can burn through your Fumas quite quickly. So Dojo, if you don't get it early on, can be not a dead card, but can still be quite annoying because it then means you have to get either 2 on there to get your Gembas out, or 3 to get your Hatsumes or your Kagekis out. So it's entirely up to you if you want to bump this up to 3. 2 kind of seems okay for now, especially with the deck being so close to 43 cards. Got the 1 Disciples of the True Draco Phoenix. Now, I've kept this in here because, again, you can burn through your True Kings quite quickly. And once your opponent's dealt with your VFD, if you want to and you feel the game's going to drag a little bit, if you search this off of your Diagram, activate this, get the pre back, draw 1, you've already got your VFD back in deck. If your Diagram's already live, you've got more place to move forward, and then that draw 1 actually won me a game one of the times. I think I drew... I think it was United or it was Disciples, one of the 2. The top deck that I drew was the Wind True King, and I had a Fuma in hand already, and I had another monster on board, so it actually let me move my plays a lot further forward. Gateway to 6 because it's busted as hell. Like, this card is just so powerful. Its own Monster Reborn effect for Shien when you get 6 tokens, but mainly you're just going 4 tokens, remove, search Kazan, 4 tokens, remove, search Kazan, 4 tokens, remove, search Kazan, special. Put 6 more tokens back on it. It's busted. It's so good. The 1 Rhoda, the 1 Rigeki, you can put Rigeki in the side deck if you want, but you do want that opportunity in your deck to board wipe. The 1 Monster Reborn, because it's, in my opinion, a staple in every deck right now. It's crazy not to play this card. And then the 1 Black Pendant. Now, this can be any equipped card you want. This could be Moon Mirror Shield, this could be United We Stand, this could be absolutely anything. The reason we play this is because you've got a card to send with Azidil, and this was given to me by Brad. Brad did suggest putting an equipped card in there for Azidil to send this and then special summon your Fuma from your deck to the field. And then the best part about Pendant is you then burn your opponent for an extra 500. Obviously, if you put Moon Mirror Shield, it would go back into your deck, but the way I saw it was, it'll be very rare that I use Azidil more than once, in that sense of special summoning a level 1. So Black Pendant, in my personal opinion, was the better choice for me to use in that scenario. So that's it for the spells, and then finishing up with the traps. We only play 3 traps, and that is the Apocalypse, because it can be very, very powerful and useful, but it could technically be cut if you wanted to. It's more specific. the True King's Return. Now the reason you get these two is if the game has been dragged out a little bit longer than you expect it to be, but Return can be incredibly powerful, just a constant Monster Reborn, Call of the Haunted, or Back to the Front, or Oasis Dragon Souls, however you want to say it, bringing back your True Kings, and then again that can push you into VFD plays. And then of course the one Solemn Judgment, because it is the out to absolutely everything in this game, and will never be dead in the deck. Now I'll take you onto the side deck before I get to the extra deck. So I played 3 Ash and 2 Veiler. Again, that's down to personal preference. I took strikes out for Ashes purely so that I would have a balanced, you know, if my opponent goes right, I'm going to go, if I choose to go first, I've got traps. I've got a good balance of traps. If I'm going second, I've got a good balance of hand traps that I can put back in to kind of help give me that edge. For the other ones, we've got the one Masterpiece, because again, I didn't want it in my main deck because it could get a little bit bricky. Sometimes you don't need to go into your Masterpiece. Yes, he can be incredibly powerful, but your continuous spells are more used there to kind of get you your draws, your special summons for your 6 Sams. So you don't ever really want to burn through them. It can be very nice to activate one of the traps during your opponent's turn and then drop a Masterpiece on them. So that can be very, very useful. Of course, we play the 2 Kaijus. The Gamma Steel is more useful in this deck because it's a water attribute. It can be used for the True King as well. And then Sticky is just because it's the lower level, lower attack of the Kaijus. You can put in the other ones if you want to. You can put like the Wind one in. That'll make it a bit more consistent as well, because then that can hit your Wind True King and your Fumas and helps push it forward that way. So it's entirely up to you on what you want to play. I just went for the standard 2 lowest attacks, and obviously Gamma Steel adds more to the deck. Next up for the traps, we've got triple evenly matched, because if I do go second, and I kind of want to see this card in my opening hand. Double Unending Nightmare for the Pendulum matchup. Again, I'm quite fearful of the Pendulum matchup. I think that could be the main deck that's going to be circling, going around the circuit at this moment in time. So Unending Nightmare and D Barrier. Now, it's entirely up to you. You could, if you wanted to, take out either the D Barrier and bump up the Ending Nightmare and bump up your Infect Veiler, or you could take out the Unending Nightmares and bump up your D Barrier and Infect Veiler. So it's really down to you on the extra deck in these 4 slots, in my personal opinion. And then it's whether you're maining these. If you're maining these, then you'd probably put strikes in, and it then comes down to that as your choice of preference of how you'd like to play the deck. Now onto the extra deck. So we'll start off with our let's start off with our synchros. We'll start off with the fusion because we've only got one. So we've still got the one Rihan. Now there was a couple of times where I wanted to go into this, and there was a time when I probably should have gone into this. I decided to go into the MX Xavier Invoker to extend my plays a little bit more, and my opponent ashed me, so I was like, ah, crap. So Rihan can be very, very powerful. Banishing a 6 sound from your hand or field, and then getting to banish 1 card on the field or on your opponent's side of the field can be very, very helpful, especially if they've got destruction effects like the Pendulum Magicians. So the banish can be very, very useful. And then this one's better in grave as well, because if a 6 sound monster or monsters would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you banish this card instead. So it can be very, very helpful, which is why I've kept him in. For the synchros, we've got the one Herald of Art Light. You make this with Fuma and either Hatsume or Kageki, and this can be very, very helpful to kind of stall your opponent out or give them more to worry about, especially if you get Herald of Art Light, one of the Link 2s, and Shien, or even VFD. There's very little your opponent can do. If your opponent goes to Regeki you with a VFD, you go Herald. If they go to do anything spell or trap orientated, and then if they want to send stuff from deck or hand, it's all getting banished anyway, so it can be very, very useful. And the idea is this only really lasts 1 turn anyway, so it doesn't affect you as much. For the level 5s, of course you play the one Shien, you know, standard on that one. The one High Speed Roy Shambara, this is if you want to be more aggressive. Again, this actually won me a game on one of my first locals because I decided to go into Shambara. They had one face down, I went into Shambara and went into a Katic Magician, and then went into Shambara and then pushed in for game. And then the one Trishula, because what's better than ripping one from your opponent's hand and then making a VFD? It's just incredibly powerful and useful in this deck. Now on to the XYZs, we play the one MX Xavier Invoker, again straightforward and standard on that one. The one Baguska, again this wins me games, incredibly powerful. If you don't get a VFD but you have the ability to get in Baguska, then you go for it and it pretty much shuts your opponent down. The one Tornado Dragon, and then we've got the one Phantom Fortress Enter Blafnia, and of course the MVP of the extra deck, and that is True King of All Calamities. This card deserves a higher reprint. Like I would love to see this in Secret or even Ultimate. I think it would look so badass, it's unreal. Okay, now onto the Link Monsters. Now, with the Link Monsters, there's a couple of alternatives. So this is 16 cards at this moment in time, but I'll show you when we get to the alternatives what you can choose to use. So, and I'll explain everything we've got while I go. We start off with the 1 Underclock Taker. Now, Underclock Taker is better in this deck, in my personal opinion, because there are some times where you'll have a True King and a 6-Sam on board, so you just need 2 effect monsters. So, for example, I actually lost the game because I didn't have this in my deck in my second game, in my second locals, because I had a Water True King, a Brastos, and a Kizaru, and I couldn't make anything, but I had a Hatsume in hand that I hadn't normal summoned. So if I was able to make Underclock Taker, I would have then had 3 6-sounds engraved for me to normal summon my Hatsume. Hatsume would have banished 2, brought 1 back, and then would have extended my plays a little bit further. So I definitely regret not having this card in there, which is why I've put it in there. Alright, the other alternatives for you guys to kind of play, so you choose 2 of these 3 coming up. The next one is Mrs. Radiant. Now, the reason I put this one in is because it lets you recycle your Earth monsters, so you can recycle your Kizaru and your Kazan. Obviously, it then helps you, gives you extra boost on that, but it does weaken your wind monsters. So it is a way of maybe you don't want it on the field all the time and you need to get rid of it. Also, because it's an Earth attribute, if you use VFD's effect, or if you use one of your True Kings while use one of your True Kings, destroy Mrs. Radiant, and then get an Earth back and kind of extend your plays that way. So that is an alternative there for you. And then a Kesset Magician. I personally like Kesset Magician because there are the times where I can make this and bounce a decode and deal with my opponent's decode, or make it and give it a spot underneath. The spot underneath is less relevant because Underclock Taker is more specific in that run and still gives me that, plus the decrease is very, very important. So you can kind of choose either one of those 2 if you wish. And then we've got the Izidil 2000 Noble Knights. Now this is very, very powerful because you then you can, if you want to, you don't have to, when it's linked summon, search out one of your monsters that can extend your combos the next turn. So you could search out Fuma if you wanted to, or of course you could search out like Kizaru, Kazan, anything like that. But its second effect is very, very powerful, which is why we play the Equip spell in the deck, is you send that to the graveyard, then you special summon your Fuma. You've got a link free play straight away if you wanted to, or if you haven't used your normal summon yet, you've got even more plays to kind of extend and move forward. So again, this one, because it's more generic, is better than the Mrs. Radiant, so you could then take that out, or you, like I said, you take out the Kesset Magician. My personal opinion is these 2 are staple. It's then down to personal preference of which 2 you want to choose out of those ones. And then finish off, we play the 1 link free of Deco Talker, and then the 1 Borrowload, because they're the best link free and link 4s in my opinion, especially in this deck, because you're more chance you're going to make this with 3 monsters than you are making like Skull Deep, because you're very rarely going to have 4 monsters on board to make that in that sense. When you've got 4 monsters on board, you're kind of pushing for your Shien and your VFD play and stuff like that. So I know that was a long-winded deck, but I've kind of given you the full lowdown and breakdown of the entire deck to kind of give you everything you need. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you a couple of ideas on making your own deck and your own amendments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, guys, as always, happy dueling. What's up, YouTube? Thanks for watching that video. I hope you liked it. If you did, hit that like button. And of course, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button in the bottom left-hand corner and the notification bell so you don't miss out on anything. We've got more deck profiles, duels, pack openings, and many more Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos coming up for you all year round. So don't forget to stay tuned for all of that. Thanks, and as always, guys, happy dueling.